In this week's news, Zak Brown opens up on Daniel Ricciardo's McLaren switch. You can watch full episodes of The Inside Line at our new home unbeaten.com/Formula One. Don't forget to hit subscribe. McLaren Racing CEO Zak Brown says team principal Andreas Seidl was one of the biggest drawcards in luring Daniel Ricciardo from Renault, with the Australian affectionately calling the German a monster. Brown had been chasing Ricciardo since he was at Red Bull, but in a chat with the Australian Grand Prix podcast In the Fast Lane, said the squad's recent recruits and successes tipped the scales.
I think a year on, he was able to see I kind of put my money where my mouth was, so to speak, and the results were coming. And he's a huge Andreas fan. I think that had a big part in his decision-making progress. As he says, Andreas is a monster. And I think it means that in a good way.
Ricciardo is set to replace the Ferrari-bound Carlos Sainz next year, and while Brown admitted that the Spaniard had played a big part in rebuilding McLaren, the team always had eyes for the honey badger.
Carlos has been a fantastic addition to our team. We've got a great relationship. We had the ability to stop him from going to another team. But, we've always wanted Daniel Ricciardo and tried to get him in our team a couple of years ago. And it was one of those where the stars aligned.
Toyota Gazoo Racing's mighty TS50 hybrid has claimed the final LMP1 victory at Le Mans, ahead of the switch to hypercar regulations next year, sealing a hat-trick for the Japanese manufacturer. It was also a third consecutive Le Mans win for Toyota's number 8 car, driven by an all-ex-F1 lineup of Sebastian Buemi, Kazuki Nakajima, and Brendan Hartley, who replaced Fernando Alonso. And who now has two, care of his 2017 win with Porsche. Zak Brown's United Autosports sealed its maiden win in LMP2, with Felipe Albuquerque, Philip Hansen, and ex-F1 driver Paul di Resta. Ferrari's factory is working around the clock, but it's not expecting miracles from its Russian upgrades, with the prancing horse's main focus now on limiting damage for 2021. The Scuderia's performance has been pegged back after its 2019 power unit was suspected to be sidestepping fuel flow restrictions, with the FIA's technical directives hobbling its SF1000, which was designed around a far more powerful engine. But with such limited development, just one per power unit element for 2021, it must now make each one count to move ahead. I think we are at the moment out of pace in the race, and we are somehow wearing the tires too much. So the upgrades will not be the ones that address it. We need to review projects with the view to 2021, said team boss Mattia Binotto. Renault is pushing F1's governing body, the FIA, to allow its returning two-time world champion Fernando Alonso to get to grips with the current car at the post-season test in Abu Dhabi. F1's traditional end-of-year test was tweaked this year, given the need to slash costs during the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, with running cut to just 1 day instead of 3, and only drivers who have competed in 2 or fewer Grands Prix eligible. But Renault is seeking an exemption, with the French marque preferring a more private forum than an FP1 for Alonso's first run. Meanwhile, Renault reserve driver Guan Yu Zhou was in Hungary last week for a 2-day test in a 2018 car, in which he did qualifying and race simulations. Zhou completed 980 kilometers, adding to the 5 days testing he did last year. Former deputy team principal Claire Williams says her family is grieving over its F1 exit, despite admitting selling to Doralton Capital was the right decision, with Mugello their first race off the grid. The historic marque, second only to Ferrari in terms of constructors' titles, was sold to the US firm last month for $179.5 million, a move that safeguarded the squad. But being out of F1 is still too much for the family to bear, given its more than 4-decade involvement. I'm sure there will be a time when we do turn on the TV on a Sunday afternoon and watch it, because that's what we've done for the past 44 years. But all we'll be doing is wishing this team well, she said. F1's return to Istanbul has been met with fevered local interest, with more than 40,000 tickets sold in the first 6 hours of their release. The first Turkish Grand Prix since 2011 will be held on November 15, and while 100,000 people are expected, a limited run of tickets costing $4 each has proved to be irresistible. But the race may yet be held behind closed doors if Turkey's COVID-19 situation spirals out of control, with the nation recording more than 1,500 new cases and 60 deaths daily. We have to be prepared for anything, said Istanbul race promoter Vural Ak. If the disease becomes worse than today, then the race can be done without spectators. The 5.338-kilometer Istanbul Park has 14 turns, 8 left and 6 right, for an expected top speed of 320 kilometers per hour. The lap record is still held by Juan Pablo Montoya in a V10 McLaren. It has a flowing opening sector before turn 8, a multi-apex monster corner. DRS will no doubt be applied to the long back straight before a final complex brings the cars back to complete the lap. AlphaTauri is set for an aero boost from 2021, with the squad switching to Red Bull Racing's wind tunnel to not only forge a closer collaboration, but to take advantage of spare capacity under future regulations. Teams will be further restricted on wind tunnel usage next year, with total runs per week dropping by nearly 40% from 65 to 40, enabling the switch. That will also allow AlphaTauri to use a 60% scale model, the last team on the grid to do so, for better aero data. The move will not just save money for the Faenza operation, but continue to build on the sister squad's synergies.
The team has a lot of technical support from Red Bull Racing, which helps them. They have 2 experienced drivers. They have the same Honda engine, which was winning in the Red Bull car.
2020 F3 champion Oscar Piastri has revealed it was touch and go in the fight for the title at the final sprint race for the season in Mugello, with the Australian not knowing if he had enough points to win. Piastri went into the final race equal on points with rival Logan Sargent, but the American went out at turn 2 on lap 1, leaving the 19-year-old to ensure he finished ahead of next best man Teo Pourchaire, who was then 9 points adrift in the standings. But 7th place at the flag was enough to clinch the F3 title by just 3 points, with a €300,000 scholarship from Pirelli to help graduate to F2.
I think a few laps before the end, I kind of lost track of where I was in the standings. So I think for some reason, I thought that me and Pourchaire were going to be level on points. So I had a bit of a panic a few laps from the end. But once I made up a couple more spots, I assumed we were all right.
Mercedes has revealed that vibration concerns forced it to squash Valtteri Bottas's request for the opposite tyre strategy to teammate Lewis Hamilton at Mugello, enough that the team feared a British GP repeat, where both suffered dramatic blowouts. Bottas, whose title chances are now distant, with a huge 55-point gap to Hamilton in the standings, was passed at the first red flag restart into turn 1, but didn't give up as the pair approached their stops.
We started to notice around lap 29, lap 30, a vibration on Valtteri's front tyres that was getting more and more significant. It was reminiscent of what we saw at Silverstone, so this time we wanted to prevent any incidents from occurring.
As a result, the team brought Bottas in first and fitted the hards, given the higher degradation on the mediums and the longer stint ahead, just as it did for Hamilton a lap later.
Prior to that, What we were going to do is stop Lewis first, again, priority on stop lap, and whatever tyre he fitted, we were more than happy to do something different with Valtteri. But this wasn't a planned stop. This was us reacting to a problem, and as a result of it, we went on the safe side.
Thanks for watching. To stay up to speed on all things Formula One, make sure you hit the subscribe button.